Well, hello everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. This is Sherry Joy Collier coming to you from my art studio in East Tennessee today. So first of all, I want to show you what I have been working on and tell you a little bit about it. So I did a video where I had taken these strips of paper and Mod Podged them all down onto the canvas. And then I did a whole video yesterday of drawing the angel wings and her body and then painting white all around it, painting her blouse and painting her face and her neck. And I got to the end of my video and it had stopped. It had switched into the SOS mode for some weird reason. So I lost all of that. So here I am. It kind of jumped from a bunch of these, all over the canvas to this. So I thought I'd just jump back on here today and try to take the next steps and see if I can't videotape this for you. This has been just a fun, relaxing project. This is something that I had made many years ago now, at least 6 years ago, maybe 7. And people really liked these quilted angels. And this is the only one I kept out of all of, I think I made like 7 or 8 of these. People liked them, they sold, and I decided this one was a keeper for me. So this usually sits out in my living room. But I thought, let's get back to making a few of these because of the process. And that's what I want to talk to you about, is just the process of art making. If we get all wrapped up in trying to make everything look perfect and real and all of that, I found my art just getting more and more frustrating and tight. And I think it comes across on the canvas and in our art when we're trying to be all perfect. So this is certainly a way to not be perfect. However, even though I'm trying not to be perfect, I still want to achieve a little bit of a certain look. So you see her little face right here. I've gone ahead and put in her little pink cheeks. But what I want to do is, let's set this over here for a minute. I want to practice her face before I think I'll get a pencil. This is a Prismacolor. So I want to practice her face. And I had drawn her on a piece of paper and cut her out. And then I traced this on the canvas. So her face is approximately this size right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and trace her face and her neck. And then what I did on the painting is I just kind of put a head in, which doesn't really matter, because it's going to be all covered with hair. So I'm going to kind of do that now. I'm just going to kind of swipe some hair in here just to give my eye kind of a sense of where the hair is going to cover, and where it won't. So I think in this particular painting, I'm going to end up giving her brown hair. So let's just get some of these wisps of hair so that I can see where I'm going to be putting. So I think right now her rosy cheeks are about right here. And so now what I need to do, I'm going to have to turn it a little bit, is I want to go ahead and get her eye in. So let's start with the eyebrow actually. So I'm going to put a little eyebrow here and here, and we'll see how this works out. And then her eye. And I'm just going to put a black dot, and I'm going to try to space it at least an eye width apart, and put another little eyelid and a little black dot. Okay, so let's see. So there's her eyes. And as is always the case, for some reason, my right eye is always a little bit higher than my left when I draw. So I'm going to pay attention to that when I'm actually painting and see if I can't remedy that a little bit. So then I think I'll just kind of take a little bit of a line down here for the nose and just a little bit of a shadow. And then lips, I'm just going to make a little curve and see how big I want those lips or don't want those lips. And it's really hard to see, especially with these two bright dots right here. But her face it'll end up having to, her chin, I'm going to have to bring down lower. So you can see why I'm practicing, because it's going to help me get the proportions figured out before I start using paint. Okay, so now let's take the canvas and let me check the video camera to see if it is still working. Yes, it is. We're having a very rainy day here today in East Tennessee. And if you don't mind, I would sure appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to my channel. That'll help the algorithm get the word out a little bit. Okay, let's pick what I'm going to use. So I think what I'm going to use for her eyebrows is just a tiny little bit of raw umber. And that's a very little tiny bit. That's not, I'm not even going to use all of that. We're going to put some white on here because I'm probably going to mix a little white in with it. And I'm going to start with her eyebrows, or maybe I'll start with her hair, actually, come to think of it. So I might see about mixing a little bit of the white in and see what kind of a brown do I want for her hair. Do I want it to be dark, dark, or do I want it to be a lighter brown? And I'm not really liking that brown at all. So I think I'm just going to go straight into the brown. And I'm going to just kind of give her a little bit of an idea of some hair. To start with, just kind of cover a little bit of that scalp. And just kind of trying to get these little brush strokes in here to indicate the wispiness of the hair. And let's bring down some tendrils. And the reason why I chose this brown hair and this kind of shoulder length style is because I have a friend who has brown hair that is currently shoulder length, and I might be giving this to her if it's something that turns out halfway decent. So I'm just gonna get these little tendrils down here. And let's put a little bit more of the dark brown in a few spots. Just kind of swooping it in. And I'm gonna put some more to cover the white down here. And it's okay if it comes and kind of touches over the teal of the shirt. Okay, I think that's all I'm gonna do for right now with her hair. We're gonna let that sit. I may come in, I will come in later and do some highlights. So now I'm gonna kind of come in here and I'm gonna see if I want to start with her eyes. And let me look at this one more time. So I'm looking at her cheeks and I'm seeing how far up above the cheeks are the eyes. And the eye is about right here. So I'm just gonna put a little parenthesis right there. And then I'm gonna come over here. Actually, I'm gonna turn it this way. And I'm gonna come directly across and do another little parenthesis right there. And those are going to be her eyes. Okay, so now I'll just put a dot in each eye. Okay, and then we'll put in some eyebrows. All right, there's the eyebrows. And I might come back in and do something different for the eye color, but for right now, I'm just gonna leave it. And I'm gonna come in with a little bit of that lighter brown. In fact, I'm gonna really lighten that up quite a bit. And just give like the suggestion of a nose. And I'm going real light on purpose because I just don't wanna come blazing in with a dark color. If I start light and I like it, I can darken it up. But if I start really dark and then try to go back over it, it'll stand out still. So I'm just gonna kind of pull that up. And I kind of like what I'm seeing. So let's go in. And I think for her lips, I'm actually gonna go with wine. So just a little wine color on the plate here. And this is just me making decisions real time and seeing how it comes out. Okay, so now I'm gonna give a little bit of her bottom lip right there. And I'm trying to keep it super small. I do not want humongous lips. Okay, so we got our little mouth right there. And once that dries a little bit, I can put some highlights. So actually, while it's still wet, I might actually go ahead and streak just a little bit of white, like a highlight. Okay, there's a little bit of a highlight. And then I'm gonna grab a little bit of white and see about just kind of putting a little tiny, well, I gotta get a little bit more paint on my brush. Tiny little highlight on her eye. And we'll see then too, if I want to darken up, I'm gonna have to get more brown on my plate. I did use all that brown. A little bit more brown. Tiny bit more brown. Okay. So going into my brown. And let's kind of pull just a little bit of a lower eyelid down there. Yep, already don't care for that. So I'm just gonna kind of paint over it and then I'll go back in. And now I've got to find my flesh tone. Okay, so here's my flesh tone. And I want to just kind of, and I see I'm getting real picky about my details. But when it comes to her eyes, that's the window of the soul. So I don't want them to look goofy. Out of everything on here, everything can look goofy. I just don't want her eyes to look goofy. So I'm going to bring a little bit of that flesh tone back in and paint over the top of the eye because that got to be a little bit much. And then I'll come back in and I'll fix it up with some more brown. Same thing under her eye. It got to be a little bit much. Okay, now I'll reshape those. in just a minute. I'm also going to take that eyebrow that I had covered over with a little of that light brown and just darken that a wee bit. Okay, darken that eyebrow. Now I'm going to put that nice brown dot in the middle of her eye. Okay, there's her nice big brown eyes. And let's give a little bit more of an arch. I think I'm going to have to wait for that flesh tone to dry a little bit. Above it. And I'm working with a very small brush, obviously on purpose. Oh, and I just brought it down a little bit too far again. I think I'm just being really super picky at this point. Okay, now I think I'm going to take that flesh color and I'm going to pull some over here, and I'm just going to take the tiniest hint of brown and darken that flesh tone, and then I'm going to put the nose 9. And let's put a little flesh color in there. And maybe even some flesh color back over there, so it's not so pronounced. I just want ever so slight of a line. And I really need to take a step back and let it dry thoroughly this time, because I think I keep messing stuff up. So that is her face. Now, while I've got this beautiful burgundy on here, I think I'm going to go into it and put some more flowers in her bouquet. So we'll just do kind of a some squiggly lines. And we're just working in a few more flowers. So some burgundy, and then I want to put some yellow flowers in here. And before I do switch to yellow, I'm going to grab a little bit of this white, and I'm going to come in and just kind of, oops, let's do the roses that are already here. Add a few highlights, few stripes around to give it the impression of highlighted flower. And while the burgundy's wet, I might even go ahead and mix that on here. Let it kind of blend a little bit so that the burgundy is not so dark. So now that it's a little bit lighter, I can come in here even lighter. And play with the highlights a little bit more. And then if I want, I could come back in and add more burgundy. Just in a few spots. Get some shadows back in there that it kind of lost. Okay, I'm going to leave that alone. And let's see here. Of course, right when I say I'm going to leave that alone, I see another place where I want to put a shadow. I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm going to go find some yellow. And I think I'm going to use saffron yellow because it kind of matches that. And we'll put our saffron yellow on. And I think these are going to be different flowers. Let's just make these nice big dots. All right, so we're getting just some beautiful yellow balls in this bouquet. Let's come up here and put some. And maybe some here. And maybe some right here. Okay. There, we've got our yellow dots filling in the bouquet a little bit. I'm going to leave that bouquet alone. I might come back later and put white dots right on top of the yellow dots just to give, again, kind of like a highlight. And I'm seeing kind of something I would like to change about her hair. I just want to add a couple more stripes of hair right here. That was too much. But her face just felt like it needed a little bit more framing. And then I went and almost took away her eye in the process. So that's easy enough to fix though, because I've got that flesh color right here. So we'll just kind of come and we'll thin that line out. Okay. And now I'm kind of thinking about maybe just a few little white highlights. And maybe I'll add yellow. Let's add some yellow. So just on the very, very top of the head, there's some highlights. Maybe some highlights in the bangs as well. Kind of switch to the yellow for the highlights instead of the white. And if I get too many, I can come back in with my brown and darken it again. Okay, I'm just bringing in some of the dark brown back in, getting it right up next to her neck. There, I like that hair a little bit better. Okay, I'm liking that hair better. Okay, now the other thing that I would probably want to add to this is some embellishments. So I'm going to show you some choices that I could make, but I'm not going to actually make the choice just yet. So choices I could make. On this one, I had thrown in just a little folk art flower on the side, and you can't really see it, but there's textured paste on here. And I had a stamp, and I was kind of putting a stamp with some words just to kind of make it look old. And so then there's other things, other stamps that I could do, I have a whole bunch of stamps. And I could just take paint on my palette knife and kind of age the corners with some gold. Sometimes that's kind of a fun thing to do. Here, let's try a little bit of that. Just gonna take a little bit of gold, if I can get it to come out. All right, so I'm using this one, Liquitex Basics. Okay, and let's put the gold on the plate. And I'm gonna get it smushed on my palette knife. And I'm just gonna kind of scrape it on here. And the whole purpose of the palette knife, oops, I just dipped into the yellow. I don't want it to be that crazy. Let's get back into our gold. The whole purpose of the palette knife is to give that rough, textured look on the edges. I kind of like that. I do like that. So I'm just going to pull that onto each edge here. And I already need just a little bit more. Sometimes I don't squeeze out enough paint, and sometimes I squeeze out way too much and end up wasting it. At least it feels like a waste. But you know what? If you're having fun and this is something you're doing to relieve stress and to enjoy your God-given creativity, then a little bit of quote-unquote wasted paint is a nice price to pay. That's an okay price to pay. And I gotta constantly remind myself of that. So just, again, kind of scraping that on, trying to get it imperfect, just to give that a little bit of a aged look. And maybe even just a little bit here and there on the white. Okay, I'm going to stop with the gold, and I'm going to stop and let this whole thing sit for a bit and dry, and then I'll come back on, put my white dots on my yellow, and I might be done. I don't know. We'll find out. I hope you've enjoyed watching this, and I would love to hear from you if you like these quilted angels, if you think I should make more of them, or should I switch back to some of my other favorite themes, such as beachscapes and flowers. So there's our little quilted angel. We're going to let her dry, and I'm going to sign off. Have yourself a wonderful day, and I'll catch up with you again soon on the Painting is Fun playlist on my channel. Take care. Bye-bye.